G'day YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, it's still been hot, but look, we were really pleased on Christmas night. About 10:30 we got a storm through and we got 28 millimetres of rain in that storm, so that helped us with the water tanks on the place a bit. That filled the tanks off the roof, and the tank out the back of the shed here, it's only about probably rung and a half off full now. The ones up the shed, up at the house, they're probably 2/3 full as an average. So we're really happy to see a little bit of rain. We haven't seen any since, and that 28 mil, look, it just put, you can just slightly see the difference in the puddle in the bottom of the big dam. The little dam, it all soaked up pretty well straight away, so there was no real runoff rain. We had a bit of a runoff on the front yard where you can see it's picked up a bit of the leaf litter, the debris, and taken it over to one of the drains we have there. But yeah, look, all in all, we didn't get any runoff into the dam, and so we're still out of water in that regard. But you know, we're just living in hope. The days are lovely. They're in the look, mid-30s. So some of them are down to 31, 32, but some of them are up the high end, and look, that's okay. The nights are still in their 20s, so yeah, a bit warm. I have the aircon blowing up my clacker in the bedroom nowadays, so that's all right. I'm getting a good night's sleep. But I haven't been doing an awful lot in the shed. I've been playing with my little 135 here a little bit, and we've just had Christmas Day, and you know, had the grandkids over, and yeah, I had a heap of Fergie parts here, and bits and pieces that I'd collected over the time, and they were becoming a bit of a schmozzle. So yesterday I spent a bit of time just sorting them out, and look, it'll make a big difference. So, you know, front axle pivot pins and new parts that I bring home from work to try, or bring it home for a project, and then I might go another direction, but the parts stay here. So I've gone through them. That took me most of yesterday just to sort that out, to see what I had. I was looking for a few bits and pieces to do this job, and I knew I had them, but I was having a bit of trouble finding them all. So, but look, the little tractor's coming along okay. I've got it so it'll key start now. The Quality Tractor Parts bring out a harness for a 135 if you want to run an alternator, and look, I've set that in, and it's a good harness. Yeah, I can't see anything wrong with it. It has a nice alternator plug and all. It just plugs into the back neatly. There is a big heavy blue wire that comes into the manifold heater, but because I'm not using that, I've cut it off and I've put an eye on it to the B positive terminal on the starter. So, and that has a fuse in it as well, which I can show you a little bit later on. So that gives me another power source, not keyed, just a constant power source up in under the dash there. So the things that we can use that for would be like a horn, the flashing light, so we can leave the flashing light on if we have the tractor stopped, things like that. And we're wiring this one up for Queensland registration. So on Queensland registration, we need to have a horn working, we need to have a flashing light, an amber light that can be seen from 360 degrees, and we need a rear view mirror. Now, what to do with the mirror yet, I'm not sure which way we're going with that. It looks like it has a little hole in the dash here. I didn't fix any holes in the dash because I thought, oh well, they've all got a purpose, and with the wiring that I'm doing on it, it's going to be a bit different. So I thought, well, some holes I'll just open out a little bit for a switch or something like that. So we don't know which way we're going with that yet. I've got the throttle all hooked up. My little fuel leak, I think I finally got onto that. I'd run it and I'd blow it out with air, and I'd you know, pull the little top screws off the injectors on the injector return line, and I'd check the copper washers and the aluminium washers there, and I'd retension and gin around, and I'd go away. I'd think, yep, that's all right, and I'd come back and there'd be a little trace of diesel coming down, and I thought, oh, you bloody thing. And so I believe what it turned out to be was they're Bearco aftermarket injectors, and I believe the top nut on one wasn't tensioned correctly. Now, I did test all of them before I put them in. Being aftermarket, I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay, because, you know, aftermarket, some things are good, some aren't. We've had a great run from these injectors, never a worry. But so I chose to run them in my tractor here, because I could actually buy the complete injectors cheaper than I could just to buy the nozzles for my old ones. So I went that way with them, but I think I've got it now by loosening everything off, and I nipped the nut up. So what happens then is, I don't think I've adjusted the pressure on the injector nozzle at all. You know, just a little nip up, but it seems to have taken up. I'll give it a run later and we'll get it hot, and I like to get everything hot, then settle bed things in again. When I put the injection pump on the tractor, I just sat it on a place, and I thought, oh, later on I'll set the timing better. And I started up a couple of times, and I thought, God, that sounds like it's advanced a little bit. So I had a look, and I thought, oh yeah, I hadn't done that. So at the moment, I've just cranked it around to halfway where I thought it probably would be, and look, it sounds and runs a lot better. You can crack her open, and you haven't got that pre-ignition, that detonation going on. So the engine sounds to run smoother. The injection pump's the pump we did up on the videos on the 135 6-speed in video number 14 and 15, and all we did was reseal it. I can notice it hunts a little bit at low idle. At high idle, I've put a digital tacho onto the crankshaft to see how accurate the tachos are, and on this new tacho, I've put the new cable and all on, and on the new tacho, when you're sitting at about 2400 RPM, which, you know, they're only an old analogue gauge, they're thereabouts thing. I've got it sitting at 2530 RPM now, flat out, which just because you can do that doesn't mean you're going to do that all day. There's still a few little tune-up things on the tractor to do yet, for sure. I still haven't even found a good radius rod for the steering, you know, to go from the steering wheel up, but I have got all this up there. I don't think that was there last time. I had to make a little key for the steering shaft. I'll have to have a look through and see, but we're setting up with the little lights for the, if you can see that, that's the alternator light, and they actually, on this harness, we have a yellow light coming, a small yellow going to the back of the alternator as the field winding, and that's this fella here, and then you have an orange coming from the key power. So all you need to do to change your generator tractor to an alternator tractor is pop the alternator on, chuck your generator, your regulator, all that junk away, and you come from your key switch through a light. Now the light gives a little bit of resistance to the field winding, and that's what you need. And so what happens is this comes on, when you turn the key on, the light comes on. As soon as you start it up and the alternator charges, the light goes out, you know, and so the track to earth in your alternator disappears. So that's working well. I have to find a position for that yet. And there is a hole in the dash there, but if I put it in these two terminals here, they would rub on the throttle. So there's a lot of little fiddly little bits to make fit. I haven't got the voltmeter wired up yet. I've got the old fuel gauge sitting in, and with the Quality Tractor Parts harness, the fuel gauge works perfectly. That's okay, the alternator's good, the starting circuit works good. It's got the two new wires to go down onto the safety start switch, so that's all okay. I went and bought a horn the other day, and it cost me a few bob because I'm buying them for this one and the multi-power. Even though the multi-power is going to be the main trekking tractor over time. This one's still going to be registered and we're still going to run around town on it and have a bit of fun. And I've got some nice brackets to hold the conduit or to hold the wire, and I'm just using, to get from the dash to the back, I'm using 5-core trailer wire, and that fits in this conduit, or that fits in this conduit bracket nicely. And I brought them in out of America. I found them in the States, so I'll probably end up putting them on our eBay, on our Queensland Tractor Spares website, and they fit nicely along the steering box and, you know, the rock shaft cover and all that sort of thing, so the lift cover. So that's going well. I do have a few other little clamps and little clamps that go in the side of the tank here that the wire for the headlights and that can go up through. And I have a couple of small like looking in your bloody old woman's handbag around here at the moment. There's shit everywhere. And, well, I've got a couple of different sorts of brackets. Now, Sparex bring out a great little brake switch, and it looks like I can drill a hole into the rear footplate bracket, and then this just hooks onto your brake rod, so when you push your brake on, that activates that switch for you. So that's a good switch. All the hardware I'm using stainless bolts with stainless nylon lock nuts. Now, a problem on a tractor when you pull the handbrake on is, when you pull the handbrake on the tractor, it just uses the normal brakes. Like where on a car you can pull the handbrake on and there's often a cable that pulls the shoes out against the wheel. You don't use the standard brake pedal. But on a tractor, because you're using the, when you pull the handbrake on the later ones, on the 135s and that with a handbrake, you're actually pulling the brake rod. So if you have this live, this will be pulled on all the time. So when you're away from the tractor and you have the handbrake on, there's a chance that, you know, well, your brake lights would be on, you'd be draining your battery. So so we have to keep for the brake light circuit, we're going to make it keyed on the accessory circuit. So once you turn your key on, your brake lights will come on if you have your brake activated. So that way we should be able to park up somewhere and not have to worry about the brake drain. So that's what we're choosing to do there. I've been putting a lot of time into the wiring, and here's a little bracket I've made, and just to get those shapes right, I'll show you where that goes shortly, and just to get those shapes right takes a lot of frigging around. And when you bring the wires to the back of the tractor and you have to go out to each mudguard, you then have the problem of how do you tee into the wires going out to the side neatly, nice and tidy. So I was humming and hawing, you know, whether I'd splice it in and solder it all together and that. And then I come up with the idea, I thought, why not just use a trailer plug? And so at the back of the trailer plug there you go. At the back of the trailer plug you have some good terminals, and pardon me, you have some good terminals there to use. So we can bring the wires in from each side and we can solder them together and join them in the back of the trailer plug. Then that gives us the heavy duty 7-pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, I had to check that. I thought, shit, I hope it is. That gives us a heavy duty 7-pin, and so if we want to pop a trailer on the back of this tractor, not only do we have a nice tidy place to join the wires together, that has got plenty of capacity to do it, and this is just stuff I had there. Looks a bit dark in the screen today. I've got a light straight above, but light coming in, and the camera must be reading the light and darkening it up down here, which is Oh, that's fine. You get the story, hey? And so I've been mucking with this bracket, and that goes on one of the rock shaft bolts at the back near the top link. And so that gives us a nice, if I can just tidy that up a bit. That gives us a nice tidy bracket at the back of the tractor. That's alloy. I've got stainless bolts going through, which is all I got, and alloy and stainless doesn't really go, but it's all I have at the moment. They're Allen head bolts, so that'll go on there. So that gets rid of that problem for us, and we can probably get a wire grommet to put around the centre here. And one bolt hole, and I've had to, God, to make a little bracket like that, and you've got to have chamfered edges, because where it sits on the housing, to get a nice big footprint, the housing sort of comes up, so you've got to have these corners chamfered and all that. But look, that would be 3mm. It was a bit of 3mm gal angle line I found in my shop here, so that'll sort that problem out of joining the wires, and it will give us a trailer outlet for if I want to, you know, hook a trailer on, head to town, or do whatever. I was wondering about, my big trailer's got trailer brakes, so I haven't sorted that out yet. But look, there's no problem. I could probably put a little brake controller there somewhere if I chose to, or if I wanted to take the caravan for a lap. I don't really know in Australia how I go. Look, I haven't bothered looking at is there a rated towing capacity for a Massey Ferguson 135. I can find the weights and all that sort of thing, you know, 1600 kilograms and all that sort of thing. But when we have a look at the specs, I just can't see a towing one. But I'll look, if you know, leave a message for me. Let me know that they're good to go, or others in Australia that have towed little caravans and bits and pieces. Let us know how you go with it. My caravan weighs 2,600 kilos fully loaded, so it weighs about 2 tonne normally. So it's probably a little bit heavy for this little tractor. But anyway, look, who knows? I'm just wondering about that. I don't know if we'll ever have the need to do it, but we'll just see what happens. Now, on the side of the tractor, up on the mudguard, I'm thinking of using Butler lamps. And now Butler lamps were a standard Massey lamp, but they were just a clearance lamp, like they had a red at the back and a clear at the front. And what I'm thinking of doing with the indicators is, I did have a yellow bulb here somewhere. I was thinking of putting a yellow bulb in here and 2 clear lenses, and just having that as the indicator on the back of the mudguard here. And I find with the gold tractor doesn't have any indicators or brake lights or anything like that on it at all. And look, sometimes I think it'd be safer if I had it, so I'm going to do it on this. And I have these brackets, so they've all got to be painted yet and sorted out, but we have to work that out as well. Bring the wiring out to the mudguard to suit that. And I'm also playing with stop tail lights. Now these are beautiful old stainless steel stop tail lights, and I'm looking at working a way to have the one light, have your Butler lamp sitting there, and making a mount for these lights here. So I'll have to, and look, it could be as simple as just bringing out a little bracket off here to mount it. It's got a nice back on the light that hides the wiring. They're Model A Ford lights, and but that would give me stop tail, and this would give me an indicator. And that's still very much a work in progress as to what we do with that. We have a roll frame comes down here too, so we'll have a look and see. But yeah, look, most of my time this week has been look, just sorting out the shed a bit, and we've had to go into the shop a couple of times, and eBay and that still ticks along, and we're just looking this morning. We've been shut for a week and there's over $5 grand on eBay, so Judy's been in 3 days, or 3 times. She's in again this morning, packing parcels, so that's great. And business is going well, and yeah, it's good to have something, a bit of income when I'm home here spending. So, well look, what we'll do, we'll just go for a bit of a walk around the old 135 here. I'll try and show you what I've done that may be different from last week. Yeah, I can't remember where I was last week, but I know for sure I've got the rear rims, the wheels on now, and I've got a run in this one, and and that's what you get for taking bloody shortcuts. And I got a little bit of a run in the primer behind it, and I sanded the top off it a bit, and I thought, oh look, that's not going to worry, that's going to be in the inside, you won't see it. I just won't put the time and effort into that. I'll just, the outside look lovely. So I painted all the rims up and sat them on, and got the tape measure out to measure for my trailer. And the trailer that I take my tractors away in, it's 182 centimetres, so a bit over 6 foot wide by about 3/4 inch over 6 foot. And with these 14.9/24s on the back, I did the measurements, and look, I would have got in, but I would have been scrubbing the tyres each time, and I thought, oh no, that's no good. I'll end up cutting a tyre or doing something. So I had to pull them off and turn all the rims around, and guess what? That bloody run I put on there, it's on the outside now, so that's pissing me off a bit. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to pop that rim off and just repaint it. Just tidy it up a little bit. It's been annoying me a little bit. And the dash and all's come up nice, and the bottom panel on the dash, I had it sitting up on the old tractor over here, and a bloody big gust of wind come and blew it off, and put a little scratch on it, so I sanded it and repainted that. But my rear guards I'm not 100% happy with. I can see a little bit of orange peel in them, and on the left hand one at the rear I've got a dry edge, so I'm probably not going to do them just now, because I still have to paint all these brackets up and all that. But once I get all the holes drilled where they need to be and all that, I think they'll have a nice light 400, 600 wet sand, and I might just blow a little bit of red over the top again. And look, that's the advantage of putting hardener in your paint. If you do need to do a quick run across something, it takes, it's no problem at all. Where in the past, without using hardener, I've had instances where something similar's happened that I haven't been happy with the job or something like that. So you sand it back a bit, you wet sand, and I often use a bit of soapy water, wet sand, and put the coat over the top. But when you bring the next coat over, well, the thinners on the top coat eats into the bottom coat, and because it's not cured correctly, you get crazy cracks in your paint. So one thing with the hardener, it's a good thing in that regard, that you can just give it a quick light sand across the top and fix anything you're not happy with. So I'm not 100% happy with the guards. Look, they're pretty good, but they're just oh bugger, we'll just see. I've got to drill holes in them yet for toolboxes and to fit these lights and all that sort of thing. So we'll worry about that when the time comes, and see what we do, whether we paint them or not, or we'll just see. I'm not going to commit to it yet, but I'm thinking I might. If I've got paint in the gun to finish the bonnet off, I may as well give it a bit of a squirt. So my little $55 spray gun from Trade Tools, it's still going like a beauty with a 2mm nozzle. The other night I was doing a bit of paint, and I did the wheels actually, and a visitor's turned up, so off I goes, and I didn't clean my bloody gun out, and I thought, oh shit. So anyway, next morning I come up and I shook it up and give it a good spray and all that, good as gold, eh? So I've cleaned it all up now. But yeah, nearly an old shit moment, but yeah, look, it's the little tractor's coming up nice, so I'll go handheld for a bit. I'll try and, I may even set the tripod up, and I'll just try and show you what I've been doing where, and to give you some impression of how it's all going. These tractors have no fuses in them, which, dangerous, playing with fire. And so I've, up on this main panel here, I've put a little fuse box, and it holds 6 fuses, and so I can set some up as battery positive, that are just live all the time, and I can also set some up on key power. Now, the live ones I probably won't set because I have a blue wire here. Can you see? Yeah, there's the blue wire, and that's the fuse on the heater wire. That's got a 15 amp fuse in it. So that's a heavy duty fused circuit. So I'm probably going to just use that for the flashing light and things like that. And then the keyed power, I was wondering how to bring power out of the key switch without having a big jumble of piggyback wires, which looks shit and doesn't work real well. And so I've chosen to put a 20 amp circuit breaker next to the fuse box, so I can bring a 20 amp in as a master switch, as a master fuse, and then I can pop 5 and 10 amp fuses down into the fuse box, so we have double protection if we need it. We don't really need the 20 amp circuit breaker there, but I've got the circuit breaker there as a really good and safe way to run separate wires across to this fuse box. So anyway, look, we'll go handheld for a bit, and we'll work it from there. I'll show you a little bit of what we've been doing. Okay, this is down the right hand side of the tractor as you sit on the seat. Now, the wiring harness I've used is, where can I get that where you can see it? Yeah, look, you should be able to see that. It's a Quality Tractor Parts Limited wiring harness. The part number's 549-56721, and it's a wiring loom 135 alternator type. And I've bought one of these for each tractor, and you can see at the back of the alternator here it has the proper plug, and the proper plug goes into the back of the alternator. It's not some shitty looking thing, it goes in well. Now I have another harness here that I can just show you a little bit on. Now there is your harness, or the alternator plug, and this red wire here, the red wire there comes straight back to your battery positive. So when you look at the next part of the harness, you have a battery positive and a brown and a white. So the white goes to the little terminal on your starter, and that's when you turn your key to the start position. The red goes to your alternator for charging the battery via your positive battery lead, and the brown goes up to the key switch on the dash to give you power in. Now this big blue wire here, the blue wire, when this normally sits here, the blue wire would have come up and sat onto the heater, the manifold heater, but I've disregarded the manifold heater on this tractor. We don't need that in Australia, so I've dropped this down and I've put it onto the B positive terminal on the starter as well. So, and look, the harness is tied together pretty well. Where the joins are, where the wires come out, looks pretty good. It's not just insulation tape, it's good stuff. Now, when we work our way along our harness again, we come up with a long wire here. That is the earth, and the grey wire is your fuel tank sender. Goes, we can't sort of see that, but yeah, just up there. And we come back and we have an earth. So I've got that earth sitting down under the air cleaner, on one of the air cleaner mounting bolts down under here out of the way, and that earths out the harness and any other functions that we need an earth for. Then we have the two big heavy wires which go onto the safety start switch, and like, they've got good terminals on them, all these. I might see if I can find a new rubber boot for the safety start switch. I think I've got them somewhere, but they're nice heavy wires. Voltage drop should be minimal. So once we work our way back up, we then come to this fella here. Now this orange Actually, we should go up to the key switch first before we come here, I believe, just to explain it a bit better. Now, down this end, we have the red and the brown wire, and when we look up the other end here, the brown wire comes out here for your key switch. So it has a 3/8 terminal on it. It's a big terminal, so that's number 1 on your key switch normally. So you put that onto number 1. This would normally go on the other big terminal on a key switch. You'll have to replace a key switch when you take a generator off and put an alternator on, because first click has to be the light on the dash to excite the alternator. So this white wire on the back of the key start, it comes from your key switch here through your safety start switch. Then when they're joined together, when it's in neutral, then it comes onto your starter and starts your tractor. Nice heavy wiring, nothing to do there. Now the orange wire, this is your accessory wire. So this is on the first position of your key switch. So a couple of things happen. When you turn your key switch on, we get power out through, I'll keep it in frame if I can. We get power going up into the key switch from the brown and out the orange. Now where's the orange go? The orange goes here. So this is one side of the light switch, which on my tractor is, yep, you can just see that, my tractor is there. So I cut these terminals off mine, and I just put it straight into the back of the switch because I have screw terminals on the switch. I will solder the end of these wires in time. So those 2 wires there, that's for your alternator light, and there's the other end of your yellow wire here. So that's all ready to roll. Your other orange wire goes here for your fuel gauge. So we have an earth on your fuel gauge. We have a power in wire, which is the orange one, and then up on the fuel sender there we have a grey, which goes up onto the fuel sender. Now on my fuel gauge, I had to take these off and put crimp wires on so I could have a 1/4 inch female spade. But look, that's about it. What it doesn't give you is a place for an ammeter or a voltmeter or anything like that. So I'll just pop this over there out of the way. So I do have to bring wiring from the little orange wire on the back of the key switch to the voltmeter and then to earth. So when I turn the power on, I can see what voltage is doing. Then when I start the tractor up, it'll read the voltage for me. So we have power there. So on this side of the tractor, we have the alternator wired in. The little blue wire that would have gone here, I'm using as a power wire and a starter wire. I had to bend this terminal because the terminals we have come straight out, and I wanted it nice and neat. So I've bent that, and I dropped a dab of solder down the crimp because the crimp looked a bit loose to me. So I've put a couple of bits of red heat shrink there just to protect it, and I've put a bit of red heat shrink up around the terminal at the top there as well onto the battery. So alright, that's just this side of the engine. Most of the wiring is going to be down the right hand side of the tractor, so we'll reset up and I'll just show you what I'm doing under the dash if I can get in there. Okay, here we are under the right hand side of the dash. Now I've put the fuse box in here, and here's a 20 amp circuit breaker. So on a circuit breaker, this brass terminal here, that's your battery positive. So this is going to be key power on my setup. So I'm going to have to make a wire from the key switch where the orange wire comes off to here, and then it'll go through here, and then I can just make up some nice tidy little wires to come in from this other terminal on the fused terminal to come in through here. So that'll be key power. Now this blue one, that's a fused wire, and I haven't got it hooked up the top there. But that should be a nice neat setup once I get it organised. I've got stainless bolts with nylon lock nuts holding everything in. It's a good neat job. Down the bottom here, that's your safety start switch, and I now have the key switch in. We're washing out there in the light a little bit, but the old fuel gauge, if I can shift that out of the way a bit, get the light out somehow, Lance. Put my hand there. Yeah, that's the old fuel gauge, and then the voltmeter we haven't got hooked up yet. So, so probably the voltmeter will get a wire from the top of the circuit breaker through the voltmeter to earth. So when I key on, it can come from the voltmeter to the brass terminal, and that's how the power will get in there. So we've got the little dash light sitting up on there. We have the tacho hooked up now. These other gauges, I'll just shift this microphone a little bit. There was a cigarette lighter there. I've chosen to put an indicator light bulb there. That should be okay, I'm hoping. I had to put a washer in behind it to help out with that. Now, if I bring this over and come down. Now, for the indicators, there's a switch I've put here. I'm not sure I'm keeping that. Here's another little switch I have. Like left, off, right. And I have a nice little rubber boot to go over that. And I'm thinking maybe I could have the indicator switch down here, and perhaps the amber warning light down over here. So it's sort of a bit easier to get at. I was thinking once you're driving along, if I can come back out here, once you're driving along, to get your hand down here might be easier than getting your hand under there. But look, who knows? We haven't worked all that out yet. And we have a proper Lucas horn button. So I thought that'd be a good spot for that. My grandson, young Arrow, that'll be an important part of his life, that horn button. Every tractor he hops on, where's the horn, Poppy? So we get into it. So I've also done the seat. That's all finished now. I always get untidy at this part of the job. I have shit everywhere, but not that I don't have shit everywhere anyway. But I'll bring this all around if I can. Okay, that's the rear wheels. They're looking pretty good, I reckon. There's a run there, right on the edge there. Big racehorse run. That's why I haven't put the extra hub bolts in. They're all tight, but they need touching up inside there yet. But I'm at the stage where I'm just getting everything to fit, and there'll be a new valve stems go in even. I like to do that just safe. So yeah, that's looking okay. I'm cutting the microphone around with me, so I'll probably be fading in and out a little bit. So yeah, look, not too bad. We'll go over to the mudguard here. This is where I could probably use a tripod. Hang on a sec. Okay. We're back over on the mudguard here, and I'll try and get me ducks in a row. Bloody ducks. Alright, so the basics of this job is this will actually sit up a little bit. There'll be a nut under there, but the basics of the job is that will sit up there. I'll just have a look in the viewfinder to see what you can see. Yep, that will sit up there, possibly with a yellow bulb in it. And that'll be seen from the front and the back for an indicator. I think that would probably do. It may even come... I was going to bring them forward or back on the guards until when I put a level across the top there, it was level, just so we had a good run of vision from each side. And then what the option was to perhaps bring a little bracket off there, somehow like that for a stop tail light on each side. So I think that'd probably look pretty neat. I've got that light there, that's a Model A Ford one, and then there's a Steiner light that has stop and tail just in that plain black, but they are two separate lights. So I'd probably like the Model A one better myself, but oh look, you know, it's not going to matter a lot. I've got to use them all somewhere. So that's what the plan is for there, I think. And the thing will be to make a nice tidy little bracket to, I don't want that dropping on the ground, they're proper glass lenses. Yeah, make a little bracket to come out here just to support another light, and that would all be pretty neat and tidy. And yeah, that's the plan at this stage. May change 25 times yet. We'll just see. Okay, we're around the back here now, and if we take this rock shaft mounting bolt out, this bracket will sit down in there nice and snug, and that's where this trailer plug will sit, next to the top link. It's out of the way there. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. I think that'll, if I can get a hand in there somewhere. What's that look like on the camera? Yeah, you can see that. So that'll be the general idea for that. It's tucked away nice and neat, and I can bring the wire across the top here and use a couple of those brackets to tie the wires down and take them out to the mudguards each side. So I think that'll be okay. Now, to get the wires out to the side, I've got these clips. I bring these in out of America too. Now these clips, they go on your brake rod. So the wire comes down the side, then you clip these on your brake rod, and that brings the wire out and up, so you're not strapping around your final drive. So they look like they're a good thing. They've got plenty of tension on them, and they suit the wire that we're using. So look, that's okay. Everything else we've done, look, I don't think there's much else we have done. That's about it. I've been busy drinking beer and buggering around. So well, I think I've got a clamp on the muffler. The wheel on the left hand side, the tyres need a bit of a clean up yet. The roll bar's not too bad, and when we go around the other side there, I've got all that's looking okay. I've got an exhaust clamp on now, which I didn't have. I've adjusted the timing slightly. I've got the stopper on. These filter housings there, now look, out of factory they were painted grey, and look, I don't know, I think I'm going to leave them like that. This tractor is just going to be a nice tractor. I'm sort of torn between how far you go with keeping it all original and how far you just let it go, and it's more sense in my mind to have a nice, reliable, practical tractor than have every little knick-knack exact as per factory. It's not going to be a concourse tractor, it's just going to be a good fun tractor. So yeah, so I don't know, I think I might just leave them as is. I don't sort of mind that look. If we zoom in there again a little bit, it's sort of not too bad, I don't reckon. We'll see. I've got a nice shine over it all though, so that's a good thing. And hopefully the fuel tank hasn't got to come off. I think I'm on top of the fuel leak. That fuel leak took a few days. I was heading in the wrong direction. I could see where it was coming, but it must have been sneaking around the back. I didn't mention is, you'll notice on the bottom of this primary fuel filter there, I've taken the glass bowl off. I have seen, you know, when you go out you tighten it up too much, and on frosty mornings and things like that, the glass bowl's broken. So we actually stock an alloy one. I don't need to see any water in the bowl. I've kept the drain there, but the drain, there's a plastic drain nut there. I'm going to actually put a steel one in and a little bit of Never-Seez on it. So if we get out and about, there's no chance of ever breaking a fuel bowl. But not that it happens every day, but it's just, I don't know, I just like to make it a bit more reliable. Well, there you go. There's a bit of a walk around the 135 on what we've been up to. I haven't been doing an awful lot on it. Yeah, you know, you're having a bit of a break and, yeah, you know, drinking a few beers and playing with the grandkids and enjoying life. but that's it. That's the end of the stew for this week. And it's the last stew for 2019. So I'd like to wish everyone, look, a happy new year. Have a ripper new year. This 2019 hadn't been a real crash hot year. For a few reasons. My young nephew passed away, and we've had a dry time, and business has been quiet and all that. So yeah, we're sort of hoping 2020 is a good year, and we can jump in and kick some ass, get some stuff happening for the year, and get a bit of production happening in Bundy Bear's shed too. But business has to be good, and everything has to be chugging along okay for all that to happen. So once again, Happy New Year, everybody. Hope 2020 is a good year for you, and yeah, you'll get what you'd like out of it. And we'll catch you next year. Thanks for your support over the last few years now, and yeah, I'll try and keep a shit and dribble coming for another year, eh? We'll catch you then. Have a good week, everyone.